1. Our essential nature and its apparent failing. What I essentially am doesn't share the limits or the destiny of the mind and body. Far from being an exotic experience, this is the simplest, most obvious, ordinary knowing of our own being that all 7 billion of us know intimately, although mostly without realizing it. In fact, it is precisely because it is so simple, familiar, ordinary, and intimate that in almost all cases, this simple knowing of our own being, its knowing of itself, is overlooked or forgotten. And as a result of this overlooking of ourself, we believe and feel that our essential nature is a cluster of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. With this belief, the true and only I of awareness is seemingly veiled, and an imaginary self comes into apparent existence. This imaginary self consists of awareness plus a belief and a feeling that it, awareness, shares the limits and the destiny of the mind and body. This limited, temporary self never actually comes into existence, but only seems to, from the illusory point of view of that thought or feeling. In other words, this imaginary self is only such from its own limited and distorted point of view. For the real and only self of awareness, which is the only one that truly knows about itself, it is never truly limited, nor does it appear or disappear. Having apparently forgotten their true nature, most people's lives are spent serving this imaginary self, thinking, feeling, acting, perceiving and relating on its behalf. Because this imaginary self is made only of the thoughts and feelings that apparently limit awareness to a mind and a body, it is a fragile entity, always needing to maintain itself. However, the true and only I of awareness needs no maintenance. It is simply ever present in its own experience of itself, and thus not the slightest effort is required to be it or maintain it. In contrast, the imaginary separate self requires constant maintenance, a constant activity of thinking or feeling. In fact, the separate self is not really an entity as such. It is an activity of thinking and feeling. The separate self is not what we are. It is what thoughts and feelings do. Now, go back to yourself and ask, can I ever be disturbed? Don't ask if thoughts or feelings can be disturbed. Ask yourself, do I, awareness, ever have any experience of myself becoming disturbed? It's like asking empty space if it is ever agitated. See clearly that what you essentially are simply cannot be disturbed, however agitated the mind, body, or world may be. You, I, the one in whom this agitation appears, with which it is known, and ultimately out of which it is made, are not yourself agitated by it. Just as the empty space of your room would not be moved if you stood up and started dancing or fighting. In other words, undisturbable peace, which is independent of circumstances, is our inherent and ever-present nature. Now, if we ask ourselves if our own being can ever lack anything, the answer is the same. The mind may lack something. The body may lack something. The world may lack something. But you, I, this open, empty presence of awareness, knows no lack within itself. It is always fulfilled, simply by being itself. As such, fulfillment, or happiness, is its ever-present nature. Thus, peace and happiness, in all circumstances and under all conditions, are two ever-present qualities of ourself.